want to tell you a little story. I want to read from this book, this amazing book that was written 100 years ago. Maybe you've heard of it. It's called The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. 100 years ago, he wrote this amazing opening, and I want to see if you guys can relate. When Gregor Samsa woke one morning from troubled dreams, he found himself transformed right there in his bed into some sort of monstrous insect. He was lying on his back, and when he raised his head a little, he saw his curved brown belly segmented by rigid arches, which the blanket, already slipping, was just barely managing to cling. His many legs, pitifully thin compared to the rest of him, waved helplessly before his eyes. What in the world has happened to me, he thought. This morning, I awoke, covered in dust, waking up in a desert at a special event called the Burning Man Festival. And I'm here in part on a quest. I want to understand from a scientific perspective, what is this transformation? What is it that is bringing so many people to a festival in a desert where it's hot and the conditions are extreme? Transformation is a very broad thing, but how can we understand that from an empirical perspective so that if there is some magic in the dust, some magic that helps people transform from one place to another, that we can bring that magic to our other social institutions? Here are some of the reasons that I've heard that people come. They come to express themselves, what we call in psychology a disinhibition. They come because they want to learn tolerance, patience, to develop the courage to try new things, to be spontaneous, to recharge human potential, to believe again in social capital. These are huge aspirational attributes. So how do we understand and quantify what happens at this event such a way that we can bring it and extend it to other contexts? So I propose that we look at things from a scientific perspective. We move beyond intuition. We move beyond, this is a transformational event, and actually start to quantify it, start to understand it, so that we can bring that to other events. So the best way to do that is through experimentation. So at this event, we have led an in-field experiment to begin to understand what this special magic is all about. We ran an event to understand altruism, fairness, and people's reaction to stingy offers. At Burning Man, there are some very interesting principles that are espoused by its participants. So we wanted to understand, is this actually true? Does this actually happen? Can it be quantified, and is there evidence of this transformation? We ran a classic economic game called the ultimatum game, and it works like this. So you have somebody who proposes and somebody who responds to an offer. The proposer is told that they need to make an offer to another participant. The proposer is offered $10, and the responder has the opportunity to accept or reject the offer, the share that has been given to them by the proposer. Now, we know from many, many times that this experiment has been run that when an offer is roughly 50-50, people will generally accept that offer. Seems intuitive. But what happens when the proposer offers something very stingy? They offer that other participant only 30% or 20% or only 10%. What happens then? Well, we know from many other experiments that 80% reject that offer. So our hypothesis, well, what would happen at Burning Man? Will people accept a stingy gift? Will they still accept that offer? Or will their behavior be similar to what happens outside of Burning Man? Will the ethos of the Burning Man culture actually be pervasive enough that they accept that offer? So that was our hypothesis, and we developed a little experiment to test to see if that would be the case. And so I ask you, what is your intuition? What do you think that people did at Burning Man when they played this little game with us and they were given a stingy offer? Do you think that people accepted because an offer is a gift and a gift is a gift? Or do you think that they rejected that offer because of the social norm of sharing? So if you believe that folks conform in the Burning Man environment to the normal conditions, that's not what happened. What we found was that at Burning Man, people consistently said, well, that's a little stingy, but we're going to accept that offer. I'm going to go ahead and accept that offer because it's Burning Man. So the question that we have is, what is it that facilitated that patience, that tolerance, that acceptance, instead of a retributive anger, a sense of, well, that's not unfair, and I want to get back, and I want to punish them? Because the way the game works is, if you reject that offer, you can punish that person, and they'll receive no gift either. So when we did this experiment, we used lemonade, and people are thirsty because it's very hot. And people were more willing to accept a very small offer, and they would know, and they would ask, what happens to the rest of the lemonade? I said, well, the other participant will get 80 or 90% of it. They were still willing to accept that, and in fact, it mattered more to them that the other person was able to get lemonade than themselves. So this little experiment is the beginning of a way to look at, to understand, to capture the thing that happens here so that we can take those learnings from a scientific perspective and extend them to other environments. So what I ask you to do, when you are in an environment where your intuition says this is a very magical process, how can we harness this energy and bring it into other environments? Look at it from the perspective of science. Develop a hypothesis. Figure out a way that we can experiment with it, test it, develop a more rigorous understanding of it so that we can take these insights, deepen our understanding of human nature, and lead to overall a better society. Thank you.